the body of Mr. Njauju was discovered, so we visited the family to learn how they are coping.
In fact, as of now, we are very worried and very sorry to the death of our brother. And the death of our brother shocked us very much. We are in terrible trouble. As I'm talking, I can't talk more because I'm in shock.
The shock that has struck his family is unmistakable. Late Njauju's wife, Awana Naino, is admitted to hospital for high blood pressure. The late Njauju, a staunch Muslim, was murdered in the month of Ramadan, which further shocks family and friends. He is survived by a wife and a 12-year-old daughter. He hailed from Balame village, Tie Jalasi, Mangochi. This building is housing the offices of the Anti-Corruption Bureau. The last day the late Mr. Isa Ali Taibu Njauju appeared at the premises of his offices was on Friday. His mysterious death has brought quite a lot of fear among members of staff. The questions are, was he a victim of mistaken identity or something else? These are some of the questions members of staff are asking but cannot be answered as of now. His death has come at a time the Anti-Corruption Bureau is moving at a very fast pace, prosecuting the suspects that are connected to the Cashgate scandal, where billions of kwaches were stolen. For Zodiak, this is Charles Wahara.
The International Tobacco Growers Association has recommended that Malawian tobacco growers fully adopt contract farming, saying it has more benefits. The recommendation by ITGA President Francois Demure comes amid concerns of high rejection rate and low prices experienced mostly by farmers under auction system. While acknowledging the challenge, Minister of Agriculture Dr. Alan Chiembekeza indicated that the choice is left with the grower on which system to use. Jacqueline Hema reports.
Every tobacco selling season in the country is characterized by a high rejection rate. Lower prices are also the major challenges affecting the tobacco growers, especially those selling the crop under auction system. 2 months ago, Deputy Director of Tobacco Sales at AHL Group, Mr. Henderson Kanjadza, told Zodiak that the situation is now dire. Speaking during a 2-day conference for International Tobacco Growers Association, ITGA member states, Minister of Agriculture Dr. Alan Chiembekeza said government acknowledges this challenge, but farmers have a choice on which system benefit them.
Each system has got its pros and cons, and it so happens that the IPS is being favored because most of the people that are selling on IPS are contracted. So there is no tobacco buyer who would want to lose his or her money. That's why I think preference is going into the IPS. Auction will be there, IPS will be there. That's why this year the selling of tobacco is side by side. You have both auction and IPS growing. Although you get high rejection rates in the auction, I think the message is very clear. When you're on auction, it's very difficult to say that we can harmonize the price. As government, we have already done that because we do set minimum prices for each grade. In IPS, nobody is being forced to be on auction, neither is anybody being forced to be on IPS. The choice is with the farmer.
President of International Tobacco Growers Association, Mr. Francois Demure, also recommended that growers in Malawi should fully adopt the contract system of selling tobacco.
One of the major things that farmers need to do around the world is to ensure that supply and demand is in balance. And that can be achieved by the contract system. And the contract system is not unique to tobacco. Many commodities have contract systems because a contract system brings benefits to the grower as well as to the market. It ensures that the grower can have assistance from the contractor, he can receive finance, he can receive agricultural expertise, agronomy services and so on. Farmers will be at the receiving end because if you overproduce anything, the prices will decline. And then farmers won't be able to make a living. So the contract system is probably the best system, and a fully integrated production system is probably the way to go across the world.
Meanwhile, the 2-day Tobacco Growers Conference in Lilongwe will focus on finding solutions on all challenges affecting tobacco industry on the part of growers in Malawi, Zambia, Kenya and Tanzania. Tobacco farmers in the country feel the contract farming yokes them to huge debts that deprive them of profits. For Zodiac, this is Jacqueline Hema reporting.
The National Initiative for Civic Education says the country has to seriously scrutinize the proposal of introducing the Ward Fund before tearing it apart or adopting it. This comes in the wake of calls by some councillors who are proposing that government should introduce such a fund to minimize conflicts between parliamentarians and councillors on development issues. But government says it is not ready to introduce the Ward Fund alongside other development funds allocated for councils. Noah Nkumi reports.
13 months since councillors were elected, it seems the playing field is yet to be levelled if their roles are to facilitate development. The councillors have no transport, and the question as to who is to manage the development fund remains unanswered. This is probably the reason some councillors are proposing the introduction of the ward basket, from which these elected members would draw money to facilitate development in their wards. Chairman for Nzimba District Council, Mr. Danny Nkosi, is one of such councillors who are backing the idea.
Councillors should have their own fund in the council so that they should debate on it for development fund. Because we should not rely on CDF. CDF is for the MPs. That's why you can see most of the MPs and councillors, there are a lot of conflicts just because this fund is not ours, it is for the MPs.
But Local Government Services Deputy Director, Mr. Douglas Nkweda, says government is not ready to introduce the special basket alongside the Constituency Development Fund and the Local Development Fund.
My take would be that this is something that we are not discussing as a ministry, that we should have something like a ward development fund, something that is similar to the Constituency Development Fund, because I think that it's like we are competing with the members of parliament, or we are competing with the other funding arrangement.
Commentators say it is very unlikely that parliamentarians would support the introduction of the ward fund for fear of the said competition. However, NICE Public Trust Regional Civic Education Officer for the North, Mr. Vincent Kalawa, thinks the proposed ward fund has to be given a second thought.
Well, we really need to sit down and discuss on a serious level on how this is going to work, because if we jump into conclusions, I think it will not be fair for both the people in the communities and then the councillors.
For Zodiak, this is Noah Nkumi, Kasungu.
President Peter Mutharika has called on Malawians to utilize the cordial relationship between Malawi and Zambia to explore business opportunities. President Mutharika was speaking at Sanjika Palace in Blantyre when he hosted a dinner on Sunday in honor of the Zambian President Edgar Lungu. In his remarks, President Lungu stressed the need to enhance private-public partnerships in improving the economy. He said the Mchinji Chipata Railway and the Shiwe Zambezi Waterway can act as catalysts for boosting the economies of the two neighboring countries. The banquet was also attended by former President of Mozambique, Joaquim Chissano, and Deputy President of Kenya, William Ruto, among other dignitaries. The foreign leaders were in Malawi to attend the celebrations for the country's 51 years of independence. We still have more news to come, but for now, let's take a short break. Welcome back. This is Twesa Takula with the news, and here are the headlines one more time. Family of slain SCB official shocked with the killing few days ago after the incident. International Tobacco Growers Association backs introduction of contract farming despite concerns from other quarters. National Initiative for Civic Education calls for introduction of Ward Fund. In other news, bomb blasts in Nigeria kills 20 people. The Malawi Human Rights Commission, MHRC, says it awaits President Mutharika's appointment to appoint new commissioners for the rights organization. The terms for commissioners of MHRC, including the chairperson, came to an end on July 4th. Speaking with Zodiak, MHRC Executive Secretary Grace Malera says even though the commissioners' terms have ended, operations at the commission remain normal. She explains more to Veronica Mali.
In terms of procedure for replacing or appointment of successor commissioners, it is governed by both the Constitution of the Republic of Malawi and the Human Rights Commission Act. You recall that at some point in April, the Law Commission and the Ombudsman issued a notice calling upon relevant institutions to make nominations. That's the commencement of the procedure. From that process, they draw up a list that is submitted to the appointing authority. In this case, the appointing authority being His Excellency the President. So as we are speaking, the Law Commission and the Ombudsman performed the tasks that they are obliged to undertake.
So as of now, their terms have come to an end. As you await approval from the President on the new commissioners, who's running their offices?
The Law Commissioner and the Ombudsman are commissioners of the Human Rights Commission. So at that level, they do come in to fill the gap where necessary. But most importantly, the work of the Human Rights Commission, the Commission is an institution of records. It's based on continuity. So when you do not have commissioners in place, it's not like you do not have policy on which you'd then be drawing your programs.
The interfaith body Public Affairs Committee has faulted the Mutharika regime of displaying an unlistening attitude following the decision to proceed with the sale of Malawi Savings Bank without conclusive consultations. PAC chairperson Reverend Dr. Felix Chingota also faulted President Peter Mutharika's government for undermining Parliament, which he says represents the interests of Malawians. Government sold 75% of its stake in the Malawi Savings Bank to FDH Financial Holdings in a deal criticized for being shrouded in secrecy and lack of adequate consultations. Police in Dedza have arrested 32 Ethiopians at the district headquarters on Monday evening. Dedza Police Public Relations Officer Sergeant Edward Kabango told Zodiak the illegal immigrants were found hiding in a bush. According to Sergeant Kabango, the 32 Ethiopians have been charged with illegal entry into the country. In international news, State Governor of Zaria City in Nigeria's Nasir El-Rufai says at least 20 people have been killed in a bomb attack in northern Nigeria. Witnesses said a suspected suicide bomber targeted civil servants at a government building in the city. Emergency workers have rushed to the scene to help evacuate the wounded. Militant Islamist group Boko Haram, which often targets northern Nigeria, has stepped up attacks since President Muhammadu Buhari took office in May. The group has not yet commented on the latest attack. Now to sports. Malawi national football team, the Flames, spiced up the country's 51st independence celebrations Sunday after beating the Ugandan Cranes 1-0 in a friendly game at the jam-packed Kamuzu Stadium. Chiukepo Msowoya's lone goal came after he had calmly latched on to Yamikani's Fojo's corner kick a minute from stoppage time. The Cranes had arrived late due to logistical challenges. That's how we wrap up the bulletin today, but before we go, a reminder of the news making headlines. Family of slain SCB official shocked with killing few days ago after the incident. International Tobacco Growers Association backs introduction of contract farming despite concerns from other quarters. National Initiative for Civic Education calls for introduction of Word Fund. In other news, bomb blast in Nigeria kills 20 people. That's the news for now. I am Tuesa Takula. Good evening and thanks for watching.